Okay, hi everybody. Welcome back to the Outmarket.pro podcast. So glad to have you back. I have with me Chris Mattingly and his new bride Brigid, relatively new bride Brigid. And first of all, let me just disclose, I've known Chris for a long time. We actually lived in the same neck of the woods in southern Indiana at the same time. We both have moved to other locations, and he's in South Carolina, and I'm now in Tampa Bay. But so I've known Chris for a long time and in networking groups and other businesses, and he and Brigid have started a new business, a new travel business. So I wanted to have him on again and Brigid as well to talk about this new venture that they're doing. So Chris and Brigid, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Mark. We
Mark.
love to be in here.
So Chris is a serial entrepreneur, as am I, and they've recently started this travel agency. And let's talk about the origins of that idea and how it's come about.
Well, it kind of popped into my mind as an idea to get involved because Bridget had recently, just this year, completely retired from the hotel business. She had been in that business for over 40 years, and she had a lot of background and knowledge of how those kind of things worked. And so I asked her one day, I said, well, would you be interested in maybe looking at this business model of a vacation planning company? And she said, well, yeah, let's take a look. So we watched some information about it, and she was intrigued and thought, yeah, this would be a great way for her to continue to stay fresh in the business and to give her something to do. You know, one thing you don't want is just to sit around after you retire, because that's not a good thing. So that's how we got in it, and I'll kind of let Bridget, give you a little spiel of why she was excited about it. So
Yeah, when Chris brought it to me, I was excited. When he first mentioned it, I was a little concerned because I had worked with travel people in my business of being in the hotel business, and I really wasn't sure if I wanted to go in that direction. But once I saw the video, I was like, oh, I was very intrigued, very much wanting to learn more on the other side. What's really intrigued me about this is being able to learn more about the different parts of the travel industry. That I only worked in hotels for, like Chris said, over 40 years, but learning the other part of the industry really excited me. And when you have something that excites you, you're happy to do it every day. So that's why I think I was more willing to take this adventure with Chris, because it excites me.
And did y'all buy into a franchise? Did you join a network? What's sort of the structure of your business?
okay, so it's not a franchise, but it is, the home part of the business has been around for over 30 years. And what we are is, we just we become a part of that group, which allows us to be able to get in for, very inexpensively. They have all the websites and everything are pre-built. You just put your information in and boom, it generates it for you. And you work off all of their existing numbers. So they're what are those, the plot?
Well, what they are is they're partners. They have a specific number of network partners in the different parts of the industry, and we're able to work with their partners because we work with them. We're able to tie into their partners and get our training and be able to book through the partners.
Yeah.
And so that's what's very exciting about this.
The company, actually, there's actually two parts to the company. One is recruiting. So you're looking to bring new members in all the time, and they kind of fall under you so that you can make a little bit off of those partners as they come in. That's where I spend most of my time, is recruiting. And then you have the vacation part of it. Planning the vacations is a second entity, and those two things get tied together. And that's where Bridget spends most of her time, is working to book vacations for people. So it's been very exciting, and we're looking to grow this business over the next few years.
Another one of the perks of this, I watch a lot of travel videos, and I'm always seeing travel agents getting free trips on cruises and upgrades. And so it's a great thing to do in semi-retirement, to add some travel. And I have found that there's nothing more rewarding, or not many things more rewarding, than traveling at somebody else's expense, uh, as a business expense. So I hope y'all will take advantage of that. And plus you're getting, now a lot of times you're getting the VIP treatment, but you're getting to view, especially cruises, and there's so many differences between ships, and can really add to your knowledge. So what's the part of the business that you're most enthused about and have the most passion? And I'm sure you're just discovering, all the different parts and options. What intrigues you the most, and at this moment,
Well, I
anyway?
think one of the things that intrigued me the most was booking all inclusives and where they're at and what they can do for you, versus doing what I used to do in hotels. So that's very intriguing. Another one that really was intriguing to me that I didn't know a whole lot about is railroad brokers, which books train trips internationally and in the United States. And when I first saw their webinar, I was very intrigued and very excited because of the destinations that they go to. So that was something that's really intrigued me to learn more about them. And of course, cruises, which is something we like to do. We like to take cruises, and to learn more about the cruises and the different types of ships and the different types of companies that are out there for you to book cruises. And as you said, as a travel advisor, which is what they call us, we're able to take advantage of either, you know, not necessarily freebies, but discounts of taking these that would cost a little less money. And also we get some training. We could get training type cruises and training type trips on the railroads, and we'll get a chance to do the adventure. It's like having an adventure, and being able to plan an adventure, and that's what excites me.
Keep in mind about possibly doing a podcast for some of those, because I'm seeing quite a few couples do a podcast. It's a skill, definitely, but could be a way to promote the business. And there's one cruise line, uh, and they're all jumbled in my head, that I have done some research in, and it's amazing how different some of the ships are. Um, and those podcasts will tell, is it older? Is it an older ship? Has it been refurbished? What's the demographic? Some of them skew more towards younger people. Some of them skew more towards older. And there's a lot to know about cruises. On the railroad booking site, what are some of the trips that appeal to you guys, or you think will be really interesting? I have a couple that I've seen, and like I say, I watch a lot of videos on YouTube about travel. But what are some of the ones that jumped out
Well,
at you guys?
I think the couple that really came out to me that I really got excited about looking internationally is they're doing one to the Ireland Isles in Ireland. I'm very excited about that because it's a destination I've always wanted to go to. Another one is Italy. They have different destinations in Italy. From a U.S. perspective, or they have a Rocky Mountain tour that would be fantastic to see the Rocky Mountains. Also close to the U.S. is a Canadian one, which is Rocky Mountain and Canadian. So these type of destinations really intrigue me because these are I would have to say Italy and Ireland are on my bucket list to do before my time expires. So
Before you hit kick the bucket.
exactly.
I actually went on one of those train trips. My son um, and my late wife and I, we took a trip. We went to Indianapolis to meet him, and he set it all up. This was Jesus, I don't know, 15 years ago. Um, he set it all up. We went to his house in Indianapolis. We caught the train, Amtrak, and took that to Chicago. And then from Chicago, we went west and we went to Washington, the state of Washington, to Seattle. So we went all across the top of the United States. It was a 2.5 day. We had a sleeper car. We had all the meals. It was absolutely phenomenal to get to see everything. We spent 3 days in Washington visiting an old Air Force buddy of mine who lived out there, and we hadn't seen him in 20 years. And then got back on the train and brought it and took it back to Chicago, and then from Chicago back to Indianapolis. So it was all done on the train. It was absolutely amazing. I would have never thought how much fun that would be to do it. And so when we saw these international ones, it really stimulated that memory. And it was like, yeah, I think that would be cool to get to do. So they're very, very much fun.
And you know, there are some real famous ones, Orient Express, that are over there, and some of them are super high quality, high class. Um, and I'm the ones across the Rocky Mountains really appeal to me, US and Canada. And I've seen the windows are just, I think they maybe even the ceiling
Yeah.
is glass.
It's like a
So,
dome, yes.
mhm.
Yeah, and then it is an amazing view because we had that on the one that we did, and go up there and you sit and you just can see everything that's going on. Just unreal. And you're not going by at 1,000 miles an hour. I mean, you're doing 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, which isn't that fast. So you can really see what's going on versus when you're flying, you're doing 300 miles an hour and you don't see anything. So
One of my bucket list trips is to go rafting down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon and to take the train, maybe not the whole way, but maybe from Chicago out there.
yeah.
Kansas is a long state, whether you're on a train or in a car.
Oh yeah.
Um, so long, flat state. So that really appeals to me. Um, let's see. Let's well, just tell me something else that you're enthused about
Well,
and and are promoting.
yeah. So we can help people with just about anything, but what we're going to try to really specialize in are the cruises and the all inclusives, because those, when you book one of those, you don't have to worry about where am I going to go eat, or is there going to be, where do I have to go to get some entertainment. Everything is there for you. Is all you got to do is either get on a plane and get there, or drive if it's something that you're taking from the United States. And then you you get on and they just pamper you. They take care of everything that you want. And I've been on cruises, I've been in all inclusives before. I absolutely love those. And I think for most people, if they've never done it, they need to do it. And once they do it, they're always going to want to do it. It becomes the ultimate vacation because you're totally relaxed. You don't have to think about anything. You can eat whenever you want, as much as you ever want, drink as much as you want, depending on what kind of package you're setting up. And I think that's the best thing in the world to promote are those things. And the trains fall under that too, but that's a slightly different category. But um, I just really love the cruises and the all inclusives. And I think we're going to spend most of our training that we're doing is going to be learning about all of those different opportunities that are out there.
Hmm. You know, I stayed in the Mayan area south of Cancun in an all-inclusive, and I think it was Sonesta, but they may have other hotels in their same brand in that area. But I told people at the time, it's been about 10 years ago now, that it was the nicest place I've ever gotten to stay. Not the nicest place I've ever been. That was Windsor Palace, but I didn't get to stay there. The Queen was just not very open. to guests, house guests. But and I had some initial reservations, no pun intended, uh, hesitancies about an all-inclusive. I thought, gosh, if there's all that to eat, am I just going to eat nonstop and be an Oompa Loompa at the end of it? But I found that it was just the opposite, that because I knew I could have whatever I wanted, at the time it included alcohol as well.
Yeah.
And now they've got packages and you can buy into it or not for the most part, I think. But I just relaxed and knowing that everything was there and I sampled everything. So I found it really relaxing. And they had some tiki type huts in the pool area with that were big, that would have held 10 people, when the two of us having drinks delivered to the tiki hut and music piped in. It's just amazing, especially for
Yeah.
relaxing.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. When I've been to about 3 different ones, all in the Cancun area down there, and uh, you know, all inclusives do include all your meals and all your drinks. They're all inclusive. Everything's there. Now, cruise
Okay.
ships, all of your food and that is there, but then you could buy a separate package for the drinks depending upon, alcohol consumption, because that's kind of separate. But you're absolutely right. I mean, they're amazing. They are the most beautiful places in the world. They're right. Most of these are located on these wonderful beaches where you've got the ocean view all the time to look at. And you cannot not be relaxed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's unreal. So you're absolutely right. And that's why it's one of the main things that we really want to talk to people about and help them set up and promote.
Let's talk about cruises a little bit and what you've learned so far about cruises. There's some huge ships, and then there's all the way. I haven't seen advertisements for Windjammer lately, but that's the small sailing boats. So there's and everything in between, age-wise, and some of these. Have y'all been on any of these super huge cruise ships?
Well, Chris has, but speaking to 2 of us, we have been on some smaller ones with Margaritaville at Sea. That's another one of our partners, and they've got now 2 cruise ships. They got a small cruise ship and they got a big cruise ship. Something that we're learning is some of our partners. One of our partners that we're training with is Princess Cruise, and when you talk about ships, Princess is coming out with 2 new ships by 2026. One's coming out in 25 and one's coming out in 26, and they are huge. They're big and a lot of passengers. And Princess is one that we're excited about possibly trying as a cruise ship because of the different type of packages that they offer. Because they do offer packages that include families, but they offer packages for couples and different types of cruises that based on what you want to do. And what we like about some of these cruise ships is because when you think of a cruise ship, sometimes you think of, oh, the captain's table, you got to be in a tux, you got to be in a long dress. These are type of cruises that where you can relax. You don't really have to dress up, but you have to dress casually. It's something that you could just go and have a great time and do what you want to do when you want to do it. And what we're learning on Princess, and one that we're going to take ourselves as a training cruise in February, is going to be Royal Caribbean. So we'll learn a lot about Royal Caribbean on one of their cruise ships, which we're very much looking forward to. And we'll be on there. The entire cruise ship will be filled with nothing but travel advisors. So it's going to be complete training for all different types of travel advisors with different companies. So we'll be able to meet people and, talk to different people, and they'll have classes set up, and we're really excited about that. But the different cruises is based on what you want to do, and that's what we like. I know Chris has been on other cruises he can talk about.
Yeah, Norwegian Cruise Line has been my favorite one to be on because they have that nonchalant kind of atmosphere. So, you don't have to make reservations. You just show up in the dinner line and you can get seated. You can go in shorts and a shirt. You can't go in there in a swimsuit, because that's not allowed. At the bars when you're swimming, you can do that, but it's all casual. You don't have that formal dining, and you don't have to make reservations, and they have great entertainment. But the different ones I was on, a couple different sizes of the Norwegian, and even though the one was really a big ship with a lot of people, you don't really notice that there's that many people there because it is so big, and everybody is going all kinds of different places when it's out there. And most of the travel time when everybody's actually on those ships is at night. So you're sleeping, or you're in your quarters, or you're sitting at the bar having a drink. And then the next morning you're at a port, and 75% of those people get off the ship and go take and do stuff. So then you got the whole place to yourself. I mean, virtually, if you don't get off the ship. So the advantage of really big ones is still, most of the time you don't even notice that they're there. And the smaller ships are cool because then there really aren't that many. There's almost more help there than there are people. And you've got the whole run of the place to do what you want to do, and you never feel crowded, which I was amazed the first time I took a cruise, was because that was what I said. God, I'm gonna be trapped on there with 4,000 people. This is insane. But when I got off of it, I said, there couldn't have been 4,000 people on there. I mean, I've had more traffic in downtown Corden than I did on this boat. So, it really was an amazing adventure.
I've seen, especially with the newer ships, suites, even two-level suites for families. And another perk with families is depending on the age of the kids, if they're, school age all the way up to teenagers, they've got kids clubs. Every one of those cruise ships has kids clubs. And my partner Bella and I were talking about, we've got a 16-year-old, and we might have more time together, just the two of us, on a cruise, because he is social, because he'll be doing, most days he'll be with the other teenagers. So
Yeah.
you really can get some good quality time with your partner that you probably don't get during the school year. And
You not only get those on cruise ships, but also you get those at all inclusives.
yeah,
All inclusives have kids clubs also, where the kids can go, like the teenagers, they have a teenagers club, and they have for smaller kids, 6 to 12, they can go in there all day and they entertain them all day. The older kids can go to, and they can play games, they can play video, they can play pool, they could whatever, and they can stay in there and eat. They provide them with snacks, and then you and your partner can do whatever you want to do, and they take care of the kids for you.
Yeah.
and to travel to that many destinations, and something you mentioned along the way here, not have to pack and unpack bags. You unpack
Right.
one time,
Right.
and and you're done, and you're there at each of those stops. So I
Yeah.
see that as a real perk.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Well, first of all, the whole ocean cruising is a huge category. Anything else about ocean cruises, or any in particular? And I think the Royal Caribbean was the one that I was looking at, and they have two. They also have a last minute program for anybody who lives the places of origin.
Yeah.
It's like $99 a person, and you actually pick a date, and if you get on there, it's really reasonable. Now
Yeah,
you've got all the add-ons too,
yeah,
drinks
most of them
and
do have last minute
serving.
for what you just said. Royal Caribbean is one. I think Princess also has that, learning that in the Princess training. Because they try to, just like hotels do, fill their cabins at the last minute. If they have empty cabins, they want to try to get as many passengers on board for them, to make the money that they need to make, for the cruise. So yeah, those last minute, if you want to wait and you can be flexible with that, you're right, Mark, you can get a really good deal on a last minute cruise.
Yeah.
And where they make their most of their money is on the excursions and the extras, the drink packages and all those extra things.
Yeah.
Um, so if they get people on, just feeding them is and the room is going to be gone.
Mhm.
Anyway, so anything else about ocean cruises that you'd like to talk about? I'd like to switch gears after that.
The only thing I wanted to mention was with ocean cruises, you have ports all around the United States to be able to catch those cruises that leave from here. And most of the bigger cruise lines also have ports in other cities or other countries. So like if you want to go to Hawaii, you don't have to leave from here to go to Hawaii and then fly back. You can go to Hawaii first if you wanted to, and then take the cruise around Hawaii. You can go to Europe and all these other places and be able to cruise all around some of these great destinations. So you're completely unlimited to where you can go and where you can leave from, which just opens up a whole different realm of travel for somebody. So that's something to keep in mind also.
Speaking of Hawaii, there was a cruise line, this was maybe 10 years ago, that would go to some of the islands that are not even accessible by airline. You just have to take a boat to get there. I want to say it's the Constitution, some older ships. Do you know if that type of thing still exists where you can travel to some remote
I think
places?
it does. What you said, Mark. When I used to live in Hawaii many years ago for several years working in the hotel business, and they had a cruise that left, and you took it for a week, and it visited all 7 islands. It would leave from Honolulu, and then it would go out, and then it would come back to Honolulu.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the name of the company was because this was a long time ago. And I
Mhm.
think that still exists.
Yeah, I'm sure that it does, because some of the things that
Yeah.
we saw were they talked about Hawaii and different ones, and that's what they do. If you're there,
Mhm.
that's what they want to do, is take you around to see all the different things that are connected to Hawaii. So
Yeah.
yeah, that would be a really great cruise to take too.
Because most people who travel to Hawaii probably are going to Honolulu or the Big Island and not many others. So
Right.
some of them just are inaccessible
Yeah.
other than on the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch gears again and go from the huge cruise ships, ocean cruise ships, and the Margaritaville drink until you drown types of cruises. And let's talk about the other end of the spectrum, and that is European river cruises. As I get a little older, uh, now in my 30s, um, river kidding, river cruises hold some appeal, and you wouldn't want to take your 16-year-old on a European river cruise. But talk about some of those. There are some great destinations. It's a totally different experience than the ocean cruises. But talk about what you've seen in that area.
Well, we haven't really done a lot of research on the river cruises yet, other than we've got a couple of really good partners who do them, and we've seen some of how those work. I have watched some videos prior to even getting involved in this business about how they work. And what I found to be really unique about river cruises is all of the rooms all face the river. They're all glass, so you can see where you're going and watch what's going on as you're traveling.
Most
And
have balconies.
yeah, and yeah, they all have almost all of those ships also have balconies, so you can sit out there and be part of nature as you're slowly cruising up these rivers, and it gives you a kind of like that train ride, okay, to where you've got the panoramic view of what's going on. And that's something that's completely unique to a river cruise that you don't get on an ocean cruise. The From what I could tell, it also all of the dining on those, there's it's a little more systematic to where they have set times where you go and do it, but it's also very luxurious dining. Okay, it's like the ultimate, you're as far as the food choices that you're going to get, and depending on which country that you're going through, those food choices are going to be completely different because they offer a lot of the local type cuisine and things that are all locally harvested or caught. So it gives you a completely different perspective of how that works. But and the rooms are, like I said, the rooms are amazing because of the panoramic view that's there.
And, I'm really interested in local culture, arts, architecture, and the excursions are less about swimming with the dolphins, as on the ocean cruises, to going and seeing some of the local churches and cultural locations. And one thing that appeals to me about that is that just like with this Hawaiian cruise that we talked about, where you can't easily get in those, you can't even get to those islands. But you're going to see places along the river that would never be part of a destination travel to those areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, like on the cruise ship, all if you go up on deck, all you're gonna see is the ocean. You're surrounded by just the ocean. But when you're on these river cruises, you're gonna see the shoreline, you're gonna see a city, you're gonna see some of the architecture of what and history of what is out there, where you're going and what you're doing.
And most of them also have built-in packages so that you're cruising to this city and then you can get off and they have tours that go to different places depending on what you want to see, and then you come back on and then you take off for the next port of to stop at. But that is an excellent way to be able to see sites that you would never really be able to see in a lot of these other countries,
Right.
just because how would you get there?
Yeah.
Unless you want to
Right.
rent a car and drive, every place and try to find hotels, which people do, but that's exhausting. It's not relaxing at all. So this way you can relax, have all your food, and then be able to get off and go see these museums or churches or whatever's there in those particular communities. And it's great, wonderful opportunity to do that.
I think the drawback is for those who like a lot of activity, they seem pretty tame and not a whole lot of on board activities, but plus if you're out walking all day and climbing hills but they do have handicapped accessible
Yeah.
um, places, but you're tired at the end of the day. So they don't
Yeah.
seem to have the variety of entertainment and activities and pools and that sort of thing. So it's a really different type of cruise.
Yes, it is. It is not you're not a place you want to take the young kids to go on a river cruise because they're probably not going to enjoy it. Uh, they want to have all those other activities to do and places to go. But for the older generation, especially, that is the like the ultimate way to travel because there's not very many people there. Okay, you're in, you get all of the amenities that you could possibly want and do as little or as much as you want off of the ship as far as traveling and seeing the sights. So it is
And
great.
I'm gathering, speaking of abilities or disabilities, I'm gathering that those river cruises really focus on seniors and being accessible for people in wheelchairs, scooters, that sort of thing. And they're available at each of those stops.
Yeah, I'm sure I like I said, depending on which one and which ship, some are going to have more than others just because of the size. But I know just on the one video that we were watching that talked about river cruises, they did say that, they have accessibility for those types of situations. And, you may have to change when you're going because it may already book. Those rooms may be full. So we have to wait till the next week or the week after. But there definitely is accessibility for that.
Speaking of river cruises, um, Chris and I both lived in the Louisville, Kentucky area where the
Bella
Queen,
Louisville.
what is it?
Bella Louisville.
Well, that was the local one, but
Yeah.
the Mississippi Queen,
Yeah, Mississippi Queen.
I think there's one other large one. Um, have you investigated that at all for an internal U.S. river cruise?
Well, that still falls under those river cruises. Okay. I didn't look at them, but I know the Mississippi Queen comes up out of New Orleans and comes all the way up past Louisville to Cincinnati and up, and then it goes back down again. And it's a similar situation because you're on that, but those ships that do that, like they're paddle wheel ships, then they don't have the luxurious rooms like those European river cruises. That it's a different type of excursion. You still have the food and the drinks and that, and they'll have some live entertainment on there, but it's a different kind of boat. And the whole trip is designed to be more historic about just the traveling up the internal
The
river
Mississippi, yeah.
of the Mississippi. So I was on a small cruise on the Bella Louisville once, and it went so far and then turned around and came back, and they're constantly telling you about everything that's going on and history of the area, and that's kind of the way those internal ones are. The European ones, though, are luxury. That's completely different kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm thinking more Mark Twain
Yeah,
style of the Mississippi Queen.
exactly. That's
Yeah,
exactly
that's
what it is.
exactly what US is. And some of the partners that we have that do river cruises, I would have to say 90% of them are international because most
Mhm.
of the river crew business is international.
Yeah. And there's some amazing rivers. Danube, I hear, is really
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
exclusive. So I don't know. Let's switch gears again and maybe talk about some of the unusual destinations. Let's not focus on cruises and combinations, but just cool destinations that you're excited about that you think others will be. For example, New Orleans, I think is a really interesting city destination wise and food wise. What are some of the places? Oh, I'm hearing more and more people talk about going up to Iceland or wherever for the Northern Lights.
Yeah,
I'm hearing that's pretty
Greenland.
popular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that taking some of this training, they talk about the Northern Lights. It's very exciting. Knowing that some cruise ships go to Antarctica too. Now, no, you didn't want to really talk about cruise, but Antarctica is another area that's very exciting.
Wow.
And another unique area to go to that do different types of vacations, and you wouldn't think it would because of years ago what happened there is Vietnam.
Hmm.
Uh,
Mhm.
that's another area that's become a destination. So there are different international areas that have become destinations. In the United States, there's a lot of great destinations to go to. Um, I would have to say one of the things we talked about earlier that was on my bucket list was like, doing the Rocky Mountains and going out west. Out west, there's some beautiful areas. Santa Fe, New Mexico is gorgeous to see, and do some adventures out there. So is Arizona. You go the right time of the year when it's not hot out there, but you go out there to do some adventures. You could do some dune buggies, and Sedona is very beautiful in Arizona. I've been
Prescott,
there. Was
Prescott
that
is right there too.
Prescott
Uh,
is right there, but Sedona is a place. When I was in Arizona, I went there a couple times, and it's beautiful. And it's got even more because they've gotten more resorts there, more luxury resorts for people to go to and just relax and have a good time. I think, those type of things for people to do there. And again, beautiful, like you say, Prescott, that's northern Arizona, and it's really cool up in Prescott. Even when the summertime, when it's 120 degrees, it can only be like 70 or 80 up in Prescott. So it's a
mhm.
nice place to go. The White Mountains area also is a nice place to go in that area of the Southwest. Southwest is just so beautiful. It's just a gorgeous place to go. That would be on my bucket list to go back to the Southwest and see some of the travel there. Uh,
And some of the national parks.
and the
I went
national
through the
park. Yep.
Petrified
Yeah.
Forest.
Yeah. Grand
Just
Canyon went
amazing.
there, Petrified Fort. I know there are people who go to the Grand Canyon. My niece's family just took a trip to the Grand Canyon this year as a family, and they had a great time.
Mhm.
And it was just, that's just some place to go and see. I've always wanted to go see Mount Rushmore. I've never been there, or Yellowstone. That would be a place that I would like to go. I've never been to either place, just want to see them, just to adventure out. So,
And another big place that people really like to go is Alaska. And yeah, and that's a huge destination place to go. And there's multiple ways that you can see Alaska, whether it's from just on a ship going, and seeing the glaciers and that type of thing, or actually getting off the ship and taking tours inland and staying at places for 2 or 3 days before you get back on. And they also have trains that go through Alaska that you can stop at multiple places. And it's a limited time span of about 3.5 or 4 months that people go to Alaska, because the rest of the year it's too damn cold and the snow's too deep, and you're not going to go there,
too dark.
and it's all dark. But during that particular time frame, that's when people go and they see how massive and how beautiful and how perfect the Alaska air and the view of everything is, and you just don't know until you get an opportunity to see it. My brother went several years ago, and he could not stop talking about it, because they took a cruise up and then got off and spent 3 days on these, driving to different places and staying at different hotel type places. And he said it was the most amazing thing he'd ever seen in his life. And so, I know that is a huge, I personally not that much interested in going to Alaska.
Me either.
Hey, I lived in Grand Forks, North Dakota for 5 years. I have all the cold I ever want to see. But, but it is a beautiful place. And for most people, it's an opportunity to do something that you'll never get a chance to see unless, you plan a special type of vacation during that time frame.
A magical destination for me is Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs. It's near Pikes Peak. Are either of you familiar with it?
Yeah. I am.
It's almost like being on the moon or something. Um, the it's a clay red, very odd formations. I'll tell you one thing that my daughter did this past fall is, again, we're just talking about destinations going right to the place. She and some friends went to Portugal, and when other places in Europe have just been slammed with people, now this was in the fall and not summer school break, but she said it's one of the least touristy places. It's now coming on because there's breathing room there, but they did mostly hiking and sightseeing of the natural world. But they said it was a really good trip, and not, even though they're on the euro, not as expensive as other places in Europe that are more touristy.
Yeah. Yeah. And you brought up a great point there, Mark, when your daughter took the trip, is sometimes it depends on when you go. Certain places have what is called high, low, mid season, or low, mid, high season, to where depending on what time of year you go, like Alaska, like out in the west in Arizona, when their peak season is what they call high season, like even down in Florida, you're going to pay more money because it's all about supply and demand wherever you go. But when you go in the off season, you may get things a little cheaper and you may be able to get in. We go down to Florida, we go down to Orlando quite often in the off season because we love going to SeaWorld, and we went there just this past October, and it was great because there wasn't a whole lot of people there. We went during the week and there wasn't a whole lot of people to where we were able, he loves to ride roller coasters. I don't do that anymore, but it was a great place to go visit when it's in a low season. And that's another thing you have to, when you're planning these type of excursions, or a, one in a lifetime vacation you want to take, those are the type of things that I don't think the normal person would take into consideration. But as somebody like me who's been in the industry for so long knows that, okay, you may not want to go this time of year because it's going to be very crowded. If you're flexible with your dates and you go here, you may be able to see more.
Yeah. And especially the locals in places on the coast of Greece, for
Mhm.
example, in the summer, they are
Yeah.
getting hostile towards people, towards tourists. And understandably, I mean, it
Yeah.
looked like lizards on the beach. Um,
Yeah.
some of the summer photos that I saw and videos that I saw. So, and I really I like to go opposite all the traffic.
Yeah.
So,
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
so think
Yeah.
about the difference. Even if you had to pull the kids out of school for a week to
Yeah.
go during October and not in the middle of July,
Yeah.
uh, to some of those
Mhm.
places. I think we're going to be seeing, especially with some of the anti-immigration feelings
Mhm.
that are generated in Europe. I think we're going to see some, maybe even uh, for sure higher prices, but like they're doing in New York and restricting traffic during certain times of the day in New York City. I think we're
Mhm.
going to be seeing some real restrictions on numbers in some of these uh, Italy, um, in some of these more popular and overcrowded destinations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that we haven't talked about? We've covered pretty much the world from Antarctica to European river cruises to Garden of the Gods. But any others that pop out to you that you would want to talk about, or just anything else to add?
I can't really think of anything, Mark. I think we've kind of discussed travel as a whole as far as everything that's out there. The only thing that I will mention is that when you're booking vacations, one of the things that a lot of times people don't think about is having insurance against what may possibly happen in the future. Because generally, when you're booking a vacation, you're doing it months, sometimes even almost a year in advance. And once you have that locked in, if you have the insurance in place, which is very inexpensive, it allows you to get most or all of your money back based on, most reasonable things. And or if something happens, then it got canceled or changed. Or when I know when COVID hit, we had a vacation planned and COVID hit, and I had insurance against it because it wasn't gonna pay me back just because COVID hit. That wasn't, one of those things. But because I had insurance, I got all my investment back plus a little bit that actually covered some of the things that were involved. So that is something really important that people need to keep in mind when they're doing this. That extra little cost can be a lifesaver, especially if something goes wrong or you have to change the destination or do something or rebook. That gives you opportunities to do that. So that's just something that people need to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I remember during COVID, there were some people that had round the world cruises canceled and they lost the whole thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another thing I'll point out that you guys haven't added is that it costs zero to have a travel, uh, what did you call representative? What's the new
Advisor.
name?
Travel advisor.
Yeah.
Advisor
Yeah.
working with you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, and especially in unique situations like us with a handicapped teenager where we need accessibility issues. That can, if you're dealing directly with a cruise line or hotels, you've got to make those individual requests.
Request.
Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
so having somebody like you guys helping and being in between, and especially since it does not cost anything, you're paid
Right.
by the
We, we,
travel.
Well, yeah,
we provide this as a free service. I
yeah,
mean, it
we're
really is.
free to the client. We make our commission off of the bookings. That's how we make our money. That's a great point, Mark. Also, something that we do for the clients to understand a client's need, like when we spoke with different people. The first thing that we do is we have what's called a client form, information form, and we have the client fill it out so we know what they want and what their needs are if they have somebody who's handicapped and what they need. So when we go to our partners to book this, we directly tell them this is what our client needs, and our partners are able to fulfill it for the client. Something else we did not bring up that right before we get off here, I want to bring up that people sometimes look at, especially with family reunions, and family getaways. We can book different types of what's called group. If you book like 5 or 10 or more cabins or rooms or whatever, it would be considered a group, and we can set it up that way to where your group gets special attention either on the cruise or at the all-inclusive or on the train trip. So those are different type of things that we can book. Weddings is another one, but weddings is not something that we're going to do.
We're not going to actively go after them.
Actively go after weddings, but if somebody wants to do a wedding that I might know, I might be willing to do it. But family reunions or somebody celebrating a milestone, like say a 90th birthday or an 85th birthday or something like that, that we would, those are type of things that are milestones. So those are things that all of our partners do, and we would be willing to do it. And most of our people who book groups get they'll get special treatment.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe special rates too.
And special rates
yeah,
also.
yeah.
We make sure when you book something in that we book it all together to where the rates don't go like this. So yeah, you do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other part of working with us too, is that when we're reaching out to one of our partners for a particular destination or type, they're going to give us whatever the best offers are.
Yeah.
At that time.
And
so if you're searching on the internet and say, ooh, I can get this, this, and this, that's what we're going to come back with. So you're going to get the best possible price that is available at that point in time. And it doesn't cost you any more to work with us than it does, if you tried to do it yourself. You're just getting all of the other guarantees, and we're going to try to make sure that you're covered with all those things. So,
well, how would people reach out to you, if they're interested in working with you on this or have questions about a particular type of cruise or destination?
We have a website. We also have a can't remember what it's called. The little
yeah, well, the best way would be to either call or send us an email. I don't know if you want to just include
give it to me.
All right, so
Bridget, don't be stingy with this information.
Well, my phone number is 912-656-3731. It's BC Vacations.
What's the website?
Well, the website's
way too. I'm trying to get here.
The website's way too long to try to read.
But website is www.chrismattingly.intervaltravel.com/book travel.
Yeah, no one's ever going to remember that.
No, but we have this little, I can't remember what it's called now. But you just
one of those
QR code.
Yeah. But our email address, which is the easiest way to reach out to us, is bcvacations11@gmail.com. So that's really easy. And they can send us an email, and then we will reach back out to them and start a conversation and send them a form, and we can just go from there and there. So email is really the easiest way to reach out to us.
And would you go ahead and send Libby, who worked to book you on this podcast, send Libby all of those things, phone numbers, email, and especially the email address, and we'll put it down in the show notes so they can just click that. And maybe you could talk to your marketing person to help you get a better URL for your website.
No, that's what it is. There is no way to change it.
There's no way of changing the URL. What I'll do is I have a front and back copy of that card on the computer. I'll just email that to her.
Okay. Yeah. So folks, you'll be able to get all that information down below to reach out to Chris and Brigid about travel. Well, wonderful. Thank you guys so much. I'm sorry there wasn't so more enthusiasm from both sides here in this. I'm kidding. I don't think if we were more enthusiastic, you about what you're doing and me about travel and questions, we wouldn't have been able to sit in our chairs.
That's true.
Yeah, true.
So
Or we'd
thank
have a
you.
marching band behind us playing, being real enthusiastic.
Well, thanks so much. Best of luck to you in your new adventures together. And we'll make sure that we circle back in 6 months or so and see what new you've discovered and what experiences you've had. So thank you so
And
much.
thank you, Mark, for having us on this podcast. We're very excited about our new adventure, and thank you for having us here this morning and promoting it.
Great. So let me thank everybody, and we'll wind down. So thanks everybody for tuning in to the Outmarket.pro podcast, where we've had a real rousing discussion about travel with Chris and Brigid. If you like the episode, please click the subscribe button, the like, and the notification bell so that you'll get notice of other podcasts. And if you want to find out more about our marketing service, go to outmarket.pro / no, I'm kidding. I was going to make fun of their long URL, but outmarket.pro. And we'll see you next time on the outmarket.pro podcast.